of the Will, a 1938 documentary film that, by all accounts, is quite an impressive technical achievement. It's got a deliberate rhythmic structure, it's visually quite interesting, it's got ideas, and it communicates those ideas clearly. Trouble is, it's also a Nazi propaganda film about how awesome Hitler is. A lot of philosophers have debated whether that makes it worse as a film. And Gort would say, yes it does, because it tries to get you to endorse some political viewpoints, and fails, or at least we hope it does. Director Leni Riefenstahl failed in what she was intending to do with the work, and therefore the work is worse because of it. But how do you know what an artist's intentions are? Intention is key for Gort. The big question is whether the work matches what the artist intended to do, and sometimes you can tell what they were intending to do with the work, but sometimes it's not so easy. For instance, in Kill La Kill, there's a scene later in the series where one of the characters is sexually assaulted, and I'm genuinely not sure whether that scene is supposed to be sexy or make us very uncomfortable. I am very creeped out by that scene, but the visual language presents it like something else. And that's just one example. You can see how it would be very difficult to determine an artist's intentions if, for instance, they'd been dead for hundreds of years. And Gort's argument is only going to work if we just focus on what the artist deliberately intended to do with their work. But sometimes the little incidental details that they maybe didn't think about as much can be morally concerning. Take Star Trek Into Darkness. You might not have realised it when you saw it in cinemas, but that film can be very easily read as an allegory for 9/11 being an inside job. Yeah, you didn't notice that, did you? But the head screenwriter, Roberto Orci, is a 9/11 truther, and the film's plot shows it. You can find an article linked in the description that will go into more detail. 9/11 conspiracy theories are morally and politically complex, shall we say, but presumably the makers of Star Trek Into Darkness weren't primarily trying to get you to endorse those conspiracy theories. They presumably had other intentions that were the main focus of making that work. But those views nevertheless did shape the final product, so surely if any moral concerns are relevant, those are. Or if a video game contains sexist depictions of women, presumably the creators didn't include that specifically to get you to endorse sexism, they just included it incidentally. But we might still wonder whether those things make a work worse. The reason I bring up these questions in relation to Kill La Kill is because the series itself deals with them. There's a theme running through the whole show that you can't and shouldn't divorce aesthetics from meaning. Honoji Academy is a fascist system in the sense that Walter Benjamin described fascism, an order that focuses on the aestheticization of politics, removing people's ability to participate in how they are governed, and replacing that participation with opportunities for them to express themselves aesthetically. Parades, art, music, rallies, uniforms. But in Kill La Kill, clothing is participation in government, even and especially if you wear nothing. Leader, rebel, peasant, elite, all meaningful modes of participating in the system that are not just symbolized by but embodied in clothing. The villains are trying to take over the world by prioritizing the aesthetic, creating clothing that will consume its wearer. Ryuko and some of the series' other heroes are trying to work with their clothing, to use its power without being consumed, to have aesthetics and meaning together. So if the series is intending to show us that we shouldn't separate aesthetic concerns from moral, political and social ones, then maybe it is an ethical defect that it expects us to make exactly that separation whenever the gratuitous fan service is on screen. Maybe all the fan service does kind of undermine the message a little bit. But that's assuming that something like Gort's theory is correct. There are some philosophers, who we could talk about another time, who would say that ethical concerns should never impact your assessment of a work of art. And all this ties into an even bigger question: what makes a work of art good in the first place? And if you click on that card that's just appeared, you'll find I've talked about that one before. What do you think? Does gratuitous fan service make anime worse? Or more generally, do ethical defects make works of art worse? Subscribe to get more videos about philosophy from me, and if you'd like to support me bringing free education to YouTube, then you can earn rewards by doing that at patreon.com/philosophytube.